Birthday parties are always fun, but how often do you have a chance to celebrate 150 years old? It's not a person, it's an organization. The Chambliss Center for Children is celebrating 150 years in Chattanooga of empowering the lives of area children, and you were invited to the Annivers-Party. Rachel Carroll is here. She's with the Chambliss Center for Children, and Sean Curlmeyer Lee, as you can tell by her shirt, is with Read 20. She is with one of several organizations that are being part of the fun on October 22nd. So welcome to you both.
Thanks.
I was telling Sean, she got to the studio first, and she and I were talking a little bit about Chambliss, and that we couldn't believe you were turning 150. Every time for all these years, when I've talked to somebody from Chambliss, I'll think, oh, they're 106. Oh, they're 115. That's just such a hard number to wrap your head around.
Yes, you can't even conceptualize it when you think about 1872. And I think a lot of people, whenever we talk about how old we are, we like to say we've lived through 3 pandemics. Oh. And I think that we started actually as working with orphans after the yellow fever epidemic. 1872 was right after the Civil War and during the yellow fever epidemic,
which ravaged Chattanooga.
Right, and so that was kind of the birth of our organization. And then we went through the Spanish flu in the early 1900s, and then we've been going through, obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic. So this is our 3rd pandemic, if it's easier to conceptualize it in pandemics.
I've heard the story a lot, but I'm bad about getting my facts wrong. But as I remember it, it really began as kind of almost like a ministry among women in the town to help those children, like you said, who were orphaned and weren't as privileged. So through the years, the mission is still to raise children up to their potential.
Yes. So we began back in 1872 when women from 5 downtown churches came together to create a food pantry and clothing closet for orphans after the yellow fever epidemic and after the Civil War. So throughout the decades, that kind of changed a little bit. We became the Vine Street Orphanage on Vine Street, and then we kept outgrowing our spaces. And of course, these were lovely women who were just having a heart to help the orphans in Chattanooga. And so we moved to where we are now in 1937, and we have changed some of our programs, but really you're right, the heart of the mission is to empower families and children and to promote family unity and stability.
So that's a great segue into Sean, because you are then now with Read 20. Y'all have only been around for 16 years, you babies. And yet that's your mission too, is to elevate children with their love of reading.
Yes, and we are an organization that supports all other organizations. So we support in many ways and partner with lots of organizations. And Chambliss we've been partnering with for many years, and we just really love Chambliss. And so when they called and said, we know you've done this event, would you like to join our party? And we said, of course.
Well, let's talk about the event, because I had never heard of this. It's called the Storyland Trail, and you and a group of volunteers are going to bring favorite fairy tales to life, right? They'll be acted out that day?
Yes, and there's a trail on the campus of Chambliss, and so we'll have people stationed along the trail, and they will act out different stories, so families can enjoy a story per about 6 or 10 feet. We're not sure exactly how many feet we'll put between them, but so they'll walk along through the trail, and we're very excited about that.
You know, you shared something with me that people have heard before, but it's always worth repeating, I think, and that is when it comes to instilling a love and comfort even of reading for a child. 3rd grade is a marker year. Why?
Well, you know, there's an old adage saying that you learn to read up through 3rd grade, and then you use reading to learn from that point forward. That's a little bit misleading, because you actually read and learn to read from the time you start all the way through. I mean, there are people learning new vocabulary words through college, you know, that sort of thing. So it's not exactly a hard, fast rule, but that's the reason. The other thing is that third grade reading. It's actually the end of third grade, so the beginning of fourth grade. That's the time frame when various municipalities will look at how many children are on grade level and how many are not. And those that are not on grade level, they use that statistic to determine how many beds to put into jails.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
okay.
a big thing.
So this is your chance, Chattanooga, on October 22nd. If you come to the party, the Annivers-Party, maybe seeing that Storyland Trail will encourage a child to read, right?
Yes.
They'll want to go home and experience it for themselves.
Yes, and we also have different other opportunities throughout the campus for Read 20 to promote their reading literacy and how important it is for kids to start reading.
I have about 45 seconds to give to you, so I know you want to let people know that it's not just educational. There's a big wheel race going on that day.
Yes, we have big wheel races, we have petting zoos, inflatables, food trucks. There are going to be so many activities for all the families to enjoy, and we're so excited to bring this completely free of charge.
There's so much that we could tell, and we don't have time to go into it, but you can Google or just go online to chamblisscenter.org. If you're new to Chattanooga and you don't know about this long history of theirs, they've been featured nationally before. I mean, it's quite the model of what to do to empower children from a very young age all the way through those teenage years. So thank you both, and happy birthday.
Thank you so much.